Hello, my name is JD. I'm with the Tombigbee Pioneers. We teach people the old crafts. My craft is basket making and also cane chairs. Today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about baskets in general, then I'm going to show you how to make a berry basket or a market basket. Baskets come in all different kind of shapes and sizes. We have several different patterns here. This one's called a market basket. In the old days, before they had Walmart bags, you had to take your basket to the store and they'd wrap your products in paper or whatever and put it in your basket. Both of these are market baskets. You can see how you can embellish market baskets to make them look a little different. This one's called an egg basket. This is actually a real old basket here, it looks like, is made of white oak. Each piece was hand cut. This one's called a flat bottom egg basket. Egg baskets were kind of rounded on the bottom, so you put your eggs in the bottom, they'd all kind of roll together and they wouldn't break. If you put them in here, they might break around, but this is an egg basket. It's called a flat bottom. This is kind of difficult to make a flat bottom egg basket. This one's also an egg basket. This one's called a deep fanny egg basket. Kids always get a giggle when I tell them it's called a fanny basket because of the way it looks. This one's a deep fanny. It's made out of different stuff too. This is cattail palms here. This is a berry basket. It's a variation of a market basket. Usually they would have handles. This one is made to hold my clothespin, so I didn't need a handle on it. But they'd have a handle on it, and kids, of course, then would go out and pick berries, and you can see that there's a little color added to it. This is an interesting basket here. I'm not sure, it's signed on the bottom. I don't really know the person who did it, but it's patterned after a feather basket, and whether she had that in mind or not, but they used to collect feathers from ducks and geese, to make pillows and beds and that kind of thing. And that's what this was. The original feather baskets had a lid that swiveled around it, locked down, so it would tie it down. It's an interesting basket, though. All right, today we're going to, let me tell you a little bit about basket. I really think that in the old days, basket weaving is one of the oldest crafts probably before they were sewing skins together. Probably went out in the fields and stealing bird eggs and decided to just take the nest and everything and realized you could store things in them. Then it's just weaving of pliable materials into that shape. And people used all kinds of things over the years. These are made of reed. It's kind of reed was imported in this country in the early 1800s for cane chairs, but it's being used to make baskets too. But they used grapevines and willow and hickory bark and elm bark, lots of different, the Native Americans used all different kinds of pliable materials to make baskets. White oak was used in the early pioneer days because they were clearing the land and the white oak could be cut down and it splits, makes the splints fairly easy, and it's really tough. This basket lasts a long, long time. All right, today we're going to make a basket. I'm going to take all these and set them down on the floor, out of the way. When you make a basket, first you have to determine what you want the basket to look like. What are you going to do with it? So today we're going to make a market basket. We're not going to put a handle on this market basket though, and you have to determine the length of your reed that you're going to use. In this case I have 15 that are 30 inches long, and I have 10 that are 34 inches long. Reed also has a fuzzy side and a smooth side. I'm not real sure you're going to be able to see that from over there, but when you bend it, if it's kind of fuzzy, you want to use that on the inside of your basket. I've already looked at all of these, and so I've marked them. So I'll know which sides to put up. And I'll have to stick them in the water for just a minute. You have to keep this stuff damp so it's pliable and it won't break. Oh, it's another basket. This is my tool basket here. It's just a variation of a market basket. You can see it's just full of tools. It's one of the first baskets I made. Is how it kind of embellished the rim around. There are all sorts of different kinds of things you can do to make them look prettier. All right, we're going to take these out of the water. It doesn't have to stay on the water very long. I'm going to go ahead and put the others in. And these are my shorter ones. I'll have to measure to be sure, but I'm pretty sure. And I put a little mark on them. You want that little mark to be on the outside of the basket. That's the smooth side. The fuzzy side is going to go inside the basket. So I'm going to lay these down on the table, flat like this. And that quilt's going to come in handy to slide them underneath. And you want to just look for your fuzzy side and be sure you put that smooth side down. Wrong one there. And we're just going to lay these all flat on the table. Usually when a settlement came in, the people, the earlier pioneers would just have to make their own baskets generally. But usually by the time a town was built, there was usually somebody there that specialized in baskets and would make baskets, because people use baskets for everything, going to the field to pick peas and beans, and picking cotton, pulling corn. The big baskets you see, people call them cotton baskets. They were mostly used for corn. But on this basket we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Supposed to be 10. Here's my other 2. Lost them somehow. Let me stick these in the water. We're going to have 10 this way, and we're going to have 15 the other way. And I didn't mark these either. Sometimes it helps if you have 3 hands to hold these things down on the table. But anyway, you put them all flat and you kind of space them out. On this case, we want about 1/4 inch between them. Some baskets you see have a real tight woven bottom. Depends on what you're going to do with it. If you don't necessarily need a tight woven bottom, then it's better if it's a little bit looser. It makes the sides easier to weave. Now we're going to take our other reed, and these again are marked with an X on the outside, and we just start in the middle, and you go over the first one, under the second one, under, just over and under, just like that, all the way across the basket. And you want to pull this so that you have about the same amount on each side. And your spacing, the spacing is not all that critical right now, but as you weave, you need to be sure that you're paying attention to that spacing, that you don't want to have big gaps in it. And you just weave like this until you get all 15 of these woven in. And the next one, since we went over here, we're going to go under. It's called a simple basket weave pattern. It's just over and under. And we're just building the bottom of the basket here. Just over and under, push it through, pull it down here, and you're making little holes in the bottom. You want those holes to be about 1/4 inch square on this particular basket. And we're going to put half of them on this side, half of them on the other, on this end down here. This one's a pre-made handle. You see it came loose down here at one point, and I had to go back and fix it together. This one's a white oak. Somebody took a knife and whittled this one to make this handle. look at these and see where I need another one. I can put it over here. Just kind of have to, again, it's not an exact science, and every one is going to be different. You can have 5 people sit down and make a berry basket, and they'll look different. Just depends on how you work the reed. Several things you need to be sure that you're doing is keeping your corners going up straight, and I'll show you that in a little bit, what I'm talking about with that. Now let's count them and be sure that we have the number that we need. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 that way. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Got to have another one. These are 34 inches long, and the other one, the shorter ones, are 30. These are 30. These are 30 here, and these are 34. And the basket is going to be this size. I'm going to add one more, and the basket is going to be this size. It'll be this long. I don't know if you can see that or not. It's the bottom of the basket. So we're going to add one more. I didn't have a pattern to make this, so I really didn't know, kind of had an idea about how the size it was going to be. But if you're a real stickler for exactly how long it's going to be, how wide it's got to be, then you need to have that in mind. This is going to be a little over 14 inches long, and it's going to be a little over about 8.5 inches wide. So what I'm thinking about doing is I'm going to remove this, I'm going to remove that, because I don't think we need them. But we still have an odd number. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Still have an odd number. I think that'll make it better. All right, now, this is the bottom of our basket, and these are going to be uprights. And what you do with the uprights is you have to bend them over and push it down. I'm going to go ahead and do this whole side, and then I'm going to show you. You can't worry about it breaking. It's not going to break. Some of the fibers are going to have to break in order for it to bend, but they've got to stand up right. And you want to have it bent so that they're all straight across like that. And we have to go all the way around the basket. And don't try to do 2 or 3 at a time. Just do them one at a time. Be sure you put your finger right there to hold that down so that you bend them straight down this side. Now these are going to be called uprights now because we want them to stand upright. You can see they're not actually going to stand upright yet, but they will as we start weaving the sides. And we're going to use weavers to weave the sides. Okay. I've seen baskets. They used to make baskets that would fit in a wagon because they would go into town and get their produce and take them out and put them in the baskets. Those would be just big market baskets. I mean, little baskets for different kinds of things. Okay, we've gone all the way around now. Notice they're not actually standing up yet, but they have been trained. Now we're going to start weaving the sides. And to weave the sides, we're going to use This material is 1/2 inch wide here. So we're going to use a 3/8 for our weavers. And to do this, you can't really measure. You're just going to have to estimate about how long it needs to be. You need to have it so it'll go all the way around this and overlap some, about 6 inches. So we can cut 2 or 3 of them if you want to. It's hard to measure and say you need exactly this long, so you just kind of have to estimate it and cut off some of it. So I'm going to go ahead and cut 3. There's a lot of excess. If you make baskets, you'll end up with a lot of little pieces. It makes great kindling. All right, now I'm going to have to stick these in the water. You must always be sure that you keep it moist, keep it wet. As you can see, our basket is going to be kind of oblong, kind of a rectangle shape. And pull these in a little bit, and I did. That'll work. You want to be sure that everything is kind of square. A lot of people will actually measure across the corner, measure across here to be sure that you're going to make it square. And that's about 15 inches across that corner, and it's about 15 inches across there. So that makes it, you're pretty sure your basket's square. Okay, now we're going to start weaving the sides, and I'm going to turn this so you can see it from the camera. This is not the way I would normally do it. We're going to use a clothespin, and we're going to start. You start with the uprights that come out underneath the basket. See how this one is on top of this right here? You start with this one where it comes out underneath. And you're going to pick up. Again, you want to look at this. I knew I'd have to have these glasses. You want to be sure that you have the fuzzy side on the inside of the basket. You don't want a bunch of fuzzy stuff on the outside. All right, so you pick up the ones that come up on the underneath the basket, and you're going to take it all the way across to this one right here. You don't want to go all the way into the corner. You want to stop back here from the corner. You want to put this, you want to split that upright with that end of that. You'll be able to see that in the camera. And you're going to clothespin it right here. Okay? See how it's doing? Now these uprights are trying to stand up now, but the ones the other ones are not. So we know we're going to turn it down. I'm going to turn it again so it'll face the camera. And you come into this corner. You want to be sure that you bend this right in the corner. You want to be sure that as you weave this basket, you want to pay attention to these two uprights right here, so they come straight up. You don't want to let one of them start sliding in like that. You want to be sure they're coming straight up. All right. Now you don't want to pull tight on this either. You want this just snug, this weaver just snug, not too tight. If you pull it too tight, your basket will warp. And there's nothing worse than working on a basket all day and a couple of days later go in there and it's one side is sticking up off it, sitting up off the floor 2 or 3 inches, and it'll do it. So you just don't want to pull it real tight. Just pull it in snug. As it dries, it'll shrink. And if it's too tight, it'll warp the basket. It's not a big issue, but it does happen. So just don't pull it too tight. Just paying attention that you're going outside the uprights that come out underneath the basket, and just come all the way down. Again, don't pull it, just push it in, and be sure that everything is nice and pulled in there nice and snug. Some people will use more pins. I usually just use one pin, but you're welcome to use as many clothespins along the side as you want. Kind of help hold it in a little bit better. Okay, now we're back to where we started, and if everything worked out right, this weaver, this end of this weaver, I want to bend this corner, is going to lay right down on top of that other one, and I just must have been holding my mouth right because it worked out just right. We're just going to stick the pin back now, hold it in place. Now we have to, we want to, and notice what's going to happen right here. This upright is going to hide the end of this weaver here. So when we come over here, we're going to cut this so that when this upright stands up, it'll hide that end of the weaver. So you don't ever want to see the ends of your weavers. So, all right, now we're going to go ahead now and do another one, and you want to start the weavers on opposite sides. And again, I'm going to turn the basket around so that I'm going to do it on your side so you can see what I'm doing. Now we're outside this one, so we've got to go inside here. Sometimes kind of hard to tell the smooth side from the fuzzy side on this reed. And if it's hard to tell, just use it. Don't worry about it, because it just happens to be a good slick piece on both sides. But generally, you can tell. Again, you want to start and just push this through all the way over to, we'll go, you just don't want to go all the way into the corner. So we'll stop right there. Again, split that upright with it. And push it down. You want these pushed down as tight as they'll go. You want your sides to be nice and snug. Put another clothespin. All right, we're in the corner, so we're going to bend our corner. They're going to come down this side. Going to lift, I'll turn it this way so you can see. Going to lift up these, go outside the ones that we were inside before. Well, again, just pushing down. You want to be constantly pushing down these weavers. They don't want to stay down. They want to ride up all the time. But if you keep pushing them down, once you get 3 or 4 in there, they're not going to go anywhere. Baskets don't have any glue. You see them sometimes. You see these little baskets. You go like buy apples and stuff like that. And you'll see staples and stuff, but old timers didn't do that. You had no glue, no staples. Everything just kind of fits together because it's woven in together. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but that's just not the way it was done back in the old days. And you just keep weaving on around. And once you get past this clothespin here, you can just take it out. And we'll cut this one off right here. You want that to overlap 3 or 4 uprights. You see, this is where it started here. This end is cut here. And then I came down here and cut off this one. I actually 1, 2, 3, 4, on the 5th one. But the 3rd one would have been okay. Put our clothespin back on there. That side's kind of acting crazy. It's a good idea to pick it up occasionally and pull everything down. Checking your corners. And you want to do this periodically because as you get up taller, it's going to be harder to do this kind of thing. Just be sure that your corners are coming up straight up. And everything is pulled down nice and snug. And you want to be sure that the ends of the weavers are hidden. Okay, so we have the pretty much the basic form of the basket is there now. Our uprights are beginning to stand up. So the rest of it is just going to be weaving in and out. This basket has never had anything done to it. It's just aged over years. This basket's probably 20, it's one of the first ones I made. It's about 25 years old. This is white oak. So you really can't tell. And if you're not careful, people will say this is white oak. But it's a lot harder to make a white oak basket, so you got to be careful with that. If you look at a white oak basket, if you look at this basket, you look at all these reeds are almost all exactly the same width, exactly the same thickness. But if you look at a white oak basket, they vary. And you can see that. You might not be able to see it from there, but I can see it from where I'm sitting. They're pretty close. The person who did this knew what they were doing when they cut their splints. This person knew exactly what they were doing. That's a really nice basket there. It's hard to find anyone that does a white oak anymore. It's it's hard to make the splints. It takes a long time. It takes longer to make the splints than it does to actually weave the basket. We're going to start another one now, and you just, again, have a total of 5 weavers here. And you want to go ahead now, and you want to be sure that you go around and you pull everything down, that all of your ends of your weavers are hidden, that everything is right where you want it to be, that your uprights are all standing up straight, that your corners are straight and square, and that your basket is in good shape right now. Okay? Don't worry about it kind of leaning out some. See how this side's leaning out, this side is standing straight up. That'll all be pulled in when we put the band around the top. Now what we're going to do now is add a little color, and we're going to use some purple reed, and it's going to be narrow. And with this dyed reed, you have to be careful that it doesn't bleed. So you want to be sure that you pull out any excess water. I really should have had a paper towel. Just be sure to wipe off the excess water. Sometimes it'll bleed onto your clear reed. And we're going to do it just like we did before. And you just go in and out. And you want to come almost all the way over to the end. And just push it down. Yep, bleeding a little bit. Sorry about that. I wasn't prepared. Yep. It's a problem with dyed reed. It's really pretty, but some of it just bleeds too much. All right. And we're just going to bring, you don't have to worry so much about bending the corner on this narrow reed. You can, but generally just kind of pinching it on there will work. There are all sorts of places. If you go on our website, on tombigbypioneers.com, there's a resources page that tells you where you can order the reed. You can also get kits. They send the pattern and everything you'll need to make a particular basket. There's several companies around. As far as I know, there's not anything local that sells any of this stuff. There's a place up in Tennessee, somewhere, I forgot now where, but most of it has to be ordered. You can see what I was talking about, the chain now. So it looks like a chain. Just got to go down this side now. Okay, now we have our basket woven all the way to the very, it's as tall as our basket's going to be. We have our nice little chain in the middle. We have 5 clear reeds down here, and we have 3 for the chain. Then we put 4 clear reeds on the top. Now the top reed is what's called a false rim. You want to be sure that when you're making a basket, your false rim, the very top one, is a little bit narrower than the band that you're going to use. In this case, I'm going to just use 1/2-inch flat reed, which is the same as these uprights. So you want that to be a little bit wider than that false rim, because you're going to have a little room for this. But just remember that your false rim always has to be a little bit wider than your band. Now, what we have to do now, the basket's done as far as if this is our size and all that, but we have to tie it down. So to do that, we cut off all the reeds that come up on the inside of the basket. See how these two come up on the outside? We want to cut off the ones that come up on the inside. You want to cut them off just as flush down to the top of the basket as you can. You're going to have to go all the way around the basket. Now we have all the ones cut off that came up on the inside of the basket. Now the others we'll use to tie the top down. If you just stopped right now, this top band would just come off. They would all just pull right out of there. So we have to lock those down. And we do that with these. And what you do is you start over here where this is the overlap. So this is where I started this piece. So we want to start with one of these two right here. And you want to bend these over so that you're going to cut it off so that it's going to tuck in behind this reed right here. I'm not real sure how much of that you can see. Let me go ahead and do this one. Maybe you can see it then. You're going to cut it off so at the end you want the end to be hidden. So I'm going to go ahead and tuck it in. And maybe we can see it. You can see how that's bent over and tucked in behind that third weaver. And the end is hidden, you can't see it. Now, you don't necessarily have to do all of these, but I always do. Okay. That's our basket. Now, we're not going to put a handle on this basket. It's just kind of, it's going to be just a market basket without a handle. We could add a handle now if we wanted to, but I think it'll be all right without one. Now we want to put our band around the top, and this you have to cut. You cut two pieces. One that'll go all the way around the outside and overlap, and another one that'll go on the inside and overlap. And then we stick these in the water. Always checking for your inside and outside for that. You don't want the fuzzy part on the outside. And now what we're going to do is we're going to sew that band down around this using this. This would be called our lasher. And this is what you call chair caning cane. This is what they do where you have the little holes as you weave the bottom of a chair bottom. That's what this is for. I'm hoping this piece is going to be long enough. I think it will. And we've got to get it wet. And this has another one of those. It's kind of, I don't know if you can see it. It's rounded on the top and flat on the bottom. This is the outside of the rattan plant, so it kind of looks like cane. So that's why you use these in the bottoms of chairs, and it looks like cane, but it's actually rattan. You can use river cane, but it's not real fun to cut and prepare. The Choctaw down in Philadelphia, Mississippi use river cane to make their baskets. All right, we're going to let that soak a little bit. Now, like I said, this is a market basket, and it would depend on what you're going to do with the basket. Sometimes you can actually take this and make little handles that fit on the ends or on the side. We could have started out with a handle, one of those wooden handles. You could take this and just work the handle into the band, make a handle like that. Several different ways you can put a handle on them, but I'm just not going to put a handle on this one. And we're going to use this seagrass. It's just twisted seagrass fibers. I don't know if you can see this, but this is what we're going to do here. It's exactly the same thing. It's half-inch reed with seagrass in between, with binder or with chair cane, sewing it down. You can do this. This band can be done several ways. If you can see this one actually has a round reed that forms that takes the place of the seagrass. Then that round reed is wrapped with this is actually chair caning materials here, and the round reed is actually wrapped with that. Kind of decorates it. I've seen it where they put another piece of this out here. It'd be real tedious doing that just for decoration. This one has just a round reed that she didn't wrap. It's just a round reed that kind of fills that little space in. Here's one where we doubled. You go all the way around and you turn around and go back the other way and kind of put little crosses, little X's all around the top of the basket. All right, you start out by checking your inside and outside. And you want to start this a little bit over halfway down one side. This is where our band is going to start right here. And we're actually going to, well, I'm going to back it up just a little bit. I'm going to put it right here. Because we want to start lashing here. So we're going to come around this way. You don't want to pull this real tight again. You just want it just so that it's nice and snug. And any slack will work out as you go around the basket. And you want to cut that off so it overlaps just about an inch. Just be sure it has plenty of room so that as you move you can move one end of that. This is the only time you ever let your overlaps be at the same place. You push this, pin it on the inside. Again, I checked so that my fuzzy part is going against the rim here, not inside the basket, because you will be able to see this part. You just want to push it in there so it's nice and snug, not too tight. This one you want to cut off a little over an inch, because this is one that will move more than the other one for some reason. And just pin it there. Then take your seagrass. You don't have to get this wet. You can if you want to, but you just don't want to get it wet. You can just duck it in the water and let it get damp. But I don't ever do that. You stick it through your pin, let it stick out over there. Then if you want to, you can bring it all the way around. And what you want to do is to sew this down in between those two flat reeds so that it should be nice and flat across the top. That it's not always going to happen, so it's perfectly flat. We're going to have little bumps and little ridges and things like that. And we take our cane. Now with this cane, because it has the shiny part or the round part, you want to be sure that round part is always up. Now there's several different ways to start this, but you start it, this is our overlap. So you're going to start it beyond the overlap. The overlap is back here. So you're going to start it beyond the overlap. And I bring it on the inside with the flat side up, and I slide that flat side up like this under the seagrass and bend it a little bit and tuck it in down on the inside of the outside band. I don't know if you can see any of that or not. No? See, I went under here, then up and over the top, and underneath this outside band. And that locks it in place. Then you pull up. You never pull up, you always pull down. You want to be sure that this cane stays nice and tight. Bring that up and over. Catch it with your thumb. I'm gonna have to stand up. And you want to run this through your thumb every time, because you want this to stay nice and flat. You don't want it to get twisted. And you put your flat side goes up, and you put it through a hole between the false rim and the next weaver, and just pull it all the way through. And hopefully it didn't twist, but it may have. If it did, you just got to be sure you just want to be sure you get that twist out before you start pulling on it. Another advantage of not having your basket woven real tight is this works better. Okay, now it's got it nice and flat. And you pull down on the inside, push the seagrass down and pull down on that reed. Not so tight that you break it, but just snug. Hold this with your thumb, bring this up and over, catch it with your thumb again. Run this back through your fingers. tuck in between the false rim and the second weaver. Pull it all the way through. This cane's got some weak spots. Pull down on the inside, never up. Pull down. Move your thumb up, hold this right here. Up and over. And go through the next hole. Pull all the way out. Try not to stitch it to something you're sitting close to. I've tied them to chairs before. So you have to pay attention to what you're doing. Pull down on the inside, push down on the chair on the seat-grass, and you want to keep pulling your bands up so that the seagrass is down in between them. Hello. Now we have the band kind of stitched around. You can see how we just go around and go through every other hole or every hole, and you're stitching that seagrass down in between those two flat reeds, and you keep it real nice and tight. At one point it broke. I don't know if y'all noticed that or not, but it broke right here in the corner. You just splice it back in there. You stick another piece in there and be sure it's that it's secure. Now I'm almost to the end here, so you just keep going, and sometimes you have to use an awl to open that hole up. You just kind of push it through, and then pull it through. You're just going to keep going all the way over here to where we originally started. You'll need to remember now, the fourth Saturday of the month, once we ever get started back, come out to the Natchez Trace, and you'll all be experts watching this, and you can make your own basket. Won't make one this big usually. We usually make a market or a little berry basket like this with a handle if you want a handle. And check out our website. There's some little videos on there. There's one of me, I think, caning a chair, and some dulcimer players and just different stuff. Basket weaving is kind of fun. It's like I said, it takes a little time. It's not real complicated. It just takes time, and you've just got to be sure that you're paying attention to what you just did, and you're following the patterns. And the patterns, when you buy them out of the books, don't always work exactly like they say they do, so you just kind of have to make it work. Okay, now we are almost to where we started. So what we have to do now is we want this seagrass to be kind of butted up against the other one. So I'm going to take this pin off and put it back here. And what we're going to do is let's see, I'm going to make another stitch or two. Now any play that was in that flat reed will have been worked out by now. So you want to be sure that this And with this seagrass, you just cut it so it just kind of butts up against the other piece, and you want to try to cut it so that it's going to be caught under one of these weavers if you can, or under the lasher if you can. It's not always possible. What we're going to do is just cut it off right here. Back this up and cut this one off. You don't want to have a gap in between them. You don't want it to overlap either. If you overlap, it's going to have a big bump. I have tried unraveling it and putting it back, and that's just too much. So just let them butt up, and if you catch it under, especially if you're using a little bit wider lasher, this lasher is kind of thin. Using a little bit wider one, it'll catch underneath there and hold. And this one looks like it's going to be just right. And you just bring it all the way over to the end. You just keep going to get to where you started. And this will be the last stitch. Just pull it down, and then you take this, what's the excess here, and you tuck it down in between the inside band and push it down and let it go behind that top weaver. Might need the awl to kind of pull that weaver out some. Just push it down in there. And you pull this down. Be sure this is nice and snug. And pull this down inside. Pull it down on the inside, and it's just going to be on the top of that one. It's not going to go up and over the top. And then just cut this. I'm going to cut it off a little bit longer and see if I can't stick it underneath that other weaver now. You don't have to do that, but I'm going to go ahead and do it so it's kind of hidden. And there you go. There's your basket. Market basket. And, like I said, you just kind of, you can see that sometimes I let the side come in. You just kind of have to watch those kinds of things. The shaped up pretty good. You can make it round if you wanted to. On this bigger one, it'd been hard to do, but when you get to the very top like that, you can just kind of, you can make it round if you want to do that. But for this one, you're probably just going to sit on a shelf and maybe put something in it. All right. Thanks for coming by today. Come by the Trace sometime and make your own basket. We're also here, the Fall Festival and that kind of thing. I'm not sure when that's going to happen again, but hopefully soon. But I enjoyed it today and hope y'all enjoyed making the basket.